Hi, Battington here. I hope you guys had a good weekend. So, in case you're wondering how I made my Jack Stauber style claymation video, this is the video explaining that. Now, yes, Toy Fever was very much inspired by Jack Stauber and his style, specifically his claymation style, but Jack Stauber isn't just limited to just his claymation style. He's also got a lot of range in live action, 3D animation, 2D animation, and finding a way to also combine all of them. And so I kind of wanted to take that approach with something that was a bit more original and surreal, since I think Jack Stauber's style is very surreal. The thing is, I'm not great with stop motion animation, but I am good at 3D animation. So I don't think it fooled anybody, but in case it did, yeah, the Toy Fever video had no actual claymation involved in it. It was all 3D, and it was all done with the help of Play-Doh. So Play-Doh is an add-on for Blender. You do have to pay for it. It's $35 for a single person use, and it's got a lot of great features, but it's essentially a pretty procedural shader to go on any object. And there's a lot of other really helpful tools that you can explore here on the Superhive market. So here is a sphere. You'll see what this sphere is later, but if I simply go into rendered view, we have this nice ball of clay. It's got a bunch of fingerprint details, a lot of cracks and folding in the clay, and to really get the Jack Stauber style, I went with this area light, and it does a great job at creating that very weird looking spotlight that Jack Stauber has on all of his claymation videos. There's always just one bright, warm spotlight. So I toyed around a ton with the actual shader itself. You can see all the different parameters that it comes with, the general texture scaling that you can change to your desired look, the roughness, the global bump, the global displacement, the mid-level, and randomize the seed just to get a different style texture to it. Let's move on to the actual animation itself. Now for my Jack Stauber video, I had made a song called Toy Fever, and it's pretty simple. It's my first try at ever making a song, really. But I had a lot of fun doing it, and I wanted to make something that wasn't just a plushie ad, which, by the way, we're still having that campaign, so get your plushie while you can. We're a little low, so if you don't mind sharing, it helps a lot, and it would also help my dearest little... Where's my dog? Alright, you big chunky monkey. It would really help out my dearest Daisy. She would just really appreciate it if you guys got yourself a plushie. Ain't that right, baby? Look at this big chunky baby. Sorry, I'm gonna hold you as best I can. Look at her, she's so cute. Alright, I'm gonna put her back to bed. There's also somebody else that wants to say hi. Okay. This is also someone that would like to say hi. This is Mabel. Right, baby? Yeah. This is Mabel. She's a cute, precious little princess. I found her as a kitten in my backyard. She's a stray. But she's very affectionate. She does not like to be left alone. We found that out the hard way. And she's very well behaved. Like, this is probably the most docile, friendly, playful cat that I've ever had. She's so sweet. She would also like if you got a plushie. So if you're not gonna do it for me, do it for Mabel. Okay, baby. We'll put you back to bed. Ugh, they're both the cutest things in the world, aren't they? Anyways, back to the animation. So I wanted to do something surreal. I knew I wanted a toy maker, a clay toy maker. So I had to sculpt up a clay toy maker. So here he is. This is our clay toy maker, and you can see it's not claymation. It's some simple geometry, a hat, his cube head, and his little body with all these little shrink wrapped spots on him to give it a bit of a 3D look. And we have ourselves a very flat but sculpted clay toy maker. Jack Stauber has a very interesting way of creating facial proportions, and so I wanted to do the same. Now, Toy Maker has these iconic rosy cheeks, so I wanted to kind of like emphasize them to make him look weird, along with his big eyes. I think it looks pretty cool. You may notice he doesn't have any arms and legs, and aside from the claymation part of this, I actually took a video on a green screen of my Toy Maker plushie, and I just subtracted the arms and his legs and slapped it on, compositing wise, onto this little clay toy maker. So it is a bit of claymation, 3D animation, and live action. So I tried my best to capture that Jack Stauber. I want to do him justice. But yeah, this is all just like, you know, 3D sculpted, obviously. There isn't necessarily anything by hand. And if we go through the animation, I wanted to kind of ease into this creepy little claymation scene. So we started off with a sphere. So we have the sphere turning. It's going to reveal a face! The Toymaker face that I sculpted. I got a lot of inspiration from Jack Stauber's Opal. They have a very like wrinkly, like intense expressions. And I always just like this expression of like the scrunched up face with the closed eyes. Then you can see there, the rounded cube comes back after being a sphere. So for Toymaker's face, I also have a few keyframes. The first one that we go into is scrunched, and then to happy. Scrunched, happy, scrunched, happy. And then his body parts are stored in his head. You can see in wireframe, you have a bunch of these parts that I shrunk down and offset the animation, so that way we can have all of his parts growing. First his black base body, then his little shirt, his base of his top hat, and of course he has no arms and legs. So at some point in the animation, I wanted there to be text that pops up showing the title of the song, Toy Fever. So I thought, why not utilize the text tool for Clay Doh in the add-on for Blender and added here some clay text. This is really cool because it comes with a few of its own fonts. Here you have Cute Dino, you have Lobster, you have Luckiest Guy, you have Pacifico, and Titan 1. I like Titan 1, I just like the way it looks. And then you can have your own custom font if you want. So it's very, very flexible. Now in terms of the actual shader, I love the clay shader already. I love how it looks like it's made of clay. But if there was one thing that I needed to change about it, is I wanted each letter to kind of have its own distinct color. Or specifically, I like the very simplistic childlike colors that you get with your red, green, blue, and yellows. If you ever wanted to have an object, one object that has different pieces, and you want all those pieces to have different materials, you can import a geometry node here, and then look for the random per island. Island would be the separate objects, and then you would put a color ramp, select your different colors that you want to add, make sure it's on consistent, and then the bigger the color, the more likelihood that you're going to see that color pop up when randomized, and then connect it to the color. And what's even funnier about this is that I can kind of go through the different randomness by changing up the simplify in the Clay Doh modifier. So for this text, let's say we change the simplify here, you can see all the colors start to change, and I can kind of just randomize it until I get one that I like. So I like this look. I like a bit of a even dispersed, even distribution. Now you can even see what's great about this, these Clay Doh texts, is that they're already kind of animated on a loop to kind of jitter as stop motion animation would be. It's very, very fun. You can even see in some of these other texts, I had an animation where they're shrunk down until you can't see them anymore. And then at some point, they just pop. Boom. They get really big, and then you shrink it down a little, move the lettering, the spacing of the letters closer together. Same with the fever over here. And just move them in place, and they still jitter around. Now, the thing about the clay animation is that I could leave it there, but I wanted to take it an extra step further, because let's say I do stop motion animation, but it's not claymation. Like, for example, my Martha video testing out the stop motion style, I used a little thing called Stopify. Stopify is also a paid add-on for Blender. It's $9.95, but it's really, really cool because you can select any object that's animated, and then you can click Stopify, and what it'll do is it'll convert that animation and kind of make it choppy. Like, imagine Into the Spider-Verse with your animation being on 2s instead of on 1s. You can even do it to on 3s or even higher than that, and it'll sync all of it up, and you can apply that Stopify, or you can clear it if you don't want it. But it adds a bit of jitter to the animation that gives it that stop motion look, instead of me having to go frame by frame to kind of, you know, make that work for a 3D workflow. Anyway, so at some point, our little clay guy here he kind of coughs. He has a coughing fit. So what I wanted is I wanted him to go from his smiling face to a coughing face. So as I slowly crank this up, that's his coughing face. What I did for this was I made a shape key for his first initial cough. Then I made a second shape key to be his face when he retracts the cough, being this one. And the next one that follows up with it, which I have to turn this one off. But then I have to create a face for after that cough, which is this one right here. What the f? Wait a minute. Wait. I didn't know he could do that. Wait. Okay, in case you don't know how shape keys work, you can kind of combine a few different shape keys. This one was not made for this. Wait, which one do I need? I need this one? No. I need the first one, right? Right? After cough 1. No. Okay. I got so confused. I made it so that way after each cough is put all the way to 1, I could just shape it after that point. So after cough goes to 1, it stays there, and then it goes, cough 2 goes all the way to 1, and it stays there, and then cough 3 does the same thing. Bro, I'm so stupid when it comes to making animations, but you know what? As long as it works, but this was so stupid for me to do. So, just so you have an idea, this whole cough sequence, you see it's got a bit of jitter, but guess what? If I turn this little eye off, okay, so you can see now it's at 24 frames per second. It's very smooth, obviously very elastic with it being a 3D animation, but still kind of a smooth transition from one shape key to another. But turning this on gives it that little jitter, that little, like, you know, we want to hold on some of these frames to feel it. There's a part where as Clay Toymaker is singing all the lyrics to Toy Fever, he has a bunch of different mouth shapes to go with the lyrics. But the thing is, none of those are put onto this. What I did for that is I took a little Jack Stauber approach and I made a clay mouth. Ignore these teeth for a second here. So this is a huge brick that I sculpted to look like a Jack Stauber mouth. And on the inside, as you might have seen, is some fake gums and teeth and a tongue, I guess. So pretty gnarly, but something I noticed about Jack Stauber is when he's making these clay-mation videos and the characters are talking, they almost have like realistic human teeth or like dentures. So I essentially just made this big blob with a bunch of different shape keys for homophones? Whatever, here's it on screen. It's essentially just the shape that a cartoon character's mouth makes for every sound that there is to pronouncing words. So your F, your T, your B, your L, your A, E, I, O, U. So I had to make a ton of different shape keys for all of that. And some of them work in tangent with the teeth and gums. So for example, if I wanted an M, I can keep it with the flat mouth. If I wanted an A, E, I, or T, the T, for example, would be with the teeth closed. So that's T. But if I wanted to add the A, E, I, this would be for A, E, I, and it works. If I wanted to do an O, I would just slide this O and then move the teeth out of the way. So this is O. Another one would be L. So that's with the mouth open, and then going to the gum and teeth, put L. I have the teeth going on top of the tongue, and the tongue is kind of going up. So that's L. And then after L, I have F. So F would look something like this. With it bite. I think this is my favorite one. This is with it biting the bottom lip. So you have all the different mouth shape keys moving from one to another. But essentially, I just rendered out the mouth, and then I placed the mouth on top of Clay Toymaker, so that way I can get our little Clay Toymaker singing. All I did was really cut out this area of the mouth and had it sing to the lyrics. Even in this area, This one also has a fake mouth. And of course, the coughing isn't really any kind of blood simulation. It's just a PNG. These are literally just blood PNGs off the internet, and I just tracked them onto the face. But yeah, that is basically how I made my fake Jack Stauber style claymation animation. And I do hope that you guys learned something from it, even though it wasn't really a tutorial. But I hope it gave you guys some ideas. I know I learned a lot from trying to replicate Jack Stauber's style, and I kind of want to do more in the future. But with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Catch you later.